I'm Gab. He's Stewart Robson. That's right, Jules, on a well-earned holiday.
Another holiday.
Well, you know what? The guy grinds. He's entitled to his time off. It's blue skies over West London. It's blue skies over Madrid because that was a resounding victory in the Clasico. That's gonna be our main item. But Robbo, there's so much else going on. There's Napoli bouncing back with a big win over Inter. Definitely needed to. And what happens in the Premiership? Liverpool lose, Manchester City lose, Chelsea lose.
Is it Arsenal's title already?
That would excite you. That would excite you. And Manchester United win, almost as remarkable than anymore.
I'm in the table as well.
But let's get into the Clasico here because I thought this was a statement win from Real Madrid. It was a comprehensive win.
Yep.
There is so many of the negatives I thought that we saw in the win over Juventus in midweek in terms of people working, people running. It all went out the window. Boom, Bellingham and with Camavinga in midfield and Güler too. And I thought they absolutely, notwithstanding the fact it was 2-1 at halftime, I thought they absolutely crushed Barcelona in the first half.
Yeah, because every time they won the ball back in good areas, every time they broke forward, they'd obviously done a lot of work on how to break down Barcelona's high line. And they did it on numerous occasions. They also had a couple of situations that were disallowed. But overall, they had the energy that they don't always have. They had the drive going forward, which they don't always have. And they got the ball forward quicker, which they don't always do. So it was a good performance. And you have to give credit to Xavi Alonso, but you also have to give credit to the players that were out there.
On the Barcelona side, what was lacking for me most notably, and in that first half, obviously, there was... They actually had like 64% possession. It's a lot of sterile possession. Fermin Lopez's goal comes because Güler gives the ball away. That certainly wasn't part of the shtick. And I looked at it, and you always associate Barcelona with creativity. Other than Pedri, there was almost none because Lamine Yamal half fit, Rafinha, Dani Olmo, and even Gavi, who often gets forgotten, unavailable. Was that the difference? Was that what stopped them? They could have played through Real Madrid much better.
Yeah, I see nearly every Barcelona game over the last couple of years. And when they're playing at their very best, they play with pace. They've got Yamal, who can go past people, can create opportunities out of nothing. He didn't do that. I think Carreras did quite well, but he was also doubled up. Güler got out with Carreras and stopped him going past his man on numerous occasions. Rashford... For all people are saying he's having a good season and he's rebuilt himself at Barcelona, he hasn't got the same movement as Rafinha has. Rafinha, when Barcelona were playing well, makes run after run after run from outside to in and causes problems for the opposition's backline. So the backline then have to drop off and it leaves more space for De Jong and Pedri to pick their passes, and Dani Olmo when he's playing in that role. For me, that does okay, and he did quite well on a couple of occasions. But overall, they were too slow in their build-up,
And that's because you don't have the creative, high technique players. Because I love Fermin Lopez, but he's not that sort of player.
Yeah.
Neither is Marcus Rashford for that matter.
And Ferran Torres, for all his pace and movement at times off the ball, he hasn't quite got the cleverness that Lewandowski has shown over the last years. Lewandowski's linked up a lot of the play for Barcelona, which people don't talk about. They talk about his goals, but there's lots of times the ball's played into him and he's playing little 1-2s with the players coming on, Dani Olmo or Rafinha or Yamal. So yes, it's I was a bit disappointed in Barcelona all over the pitch.
Barcelona disappointed too because for the first time Real Madrid's win breaks a streak of 4 Barcelona victories in the Clasico. That is a big deal in the context of Spain. We saw what happened at the end, the melee, the intensity. This felt like a throwback, not quite to the same level, to the great Mourinho versus Pep battles of the kind of early 2010s in terms of not the same level of venom, but we're close to it. Some of this was instigated, I think, by Dani Carvajal and Lamine Yamal, and Vinicius as well, responding to comments Lamine Yamal made with Ibayanos before the game, saying Real Madrid cheat and will continue and complain. That's what they do.
Lamine Yamal is a wonderful player, but he's got to be more sensible. Somebody's got to guide him with what he's saying before games and after games, because this has been a case for a little while. He said some things that aren't going to endear himself to the opposition, aren't going to endear himself to... He's a great player. Be a great player. Don't get yourself involved in all these other antics.
Messaging, I think, really, really matters. I blame the club here as much as Yamal.
Yeah.
You have to be able to control it. There are ways, if you want to get this point across because you believe it and you decide you want to get across, I'm okay with it, kind of Machiavellian. But this was not the messenger. This was not the context. This was not the time to do it. Okay, so this Yamal situation, I'm not blaming him.
No.
But obviously, no, he's actually, you know what? I am blaming him because he's 18. Like, you're an adult. But above all, I think there has to be a club that looks after the club assets.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation before, first on the physical side. I've had it before with Don Hutchinson. And the fact that, you know, surely they have club doctors, sports scientists. At 18, he's played a ton of football. Everybody remembers what happened with Ansu Fati.
Yep.
This idea, and you were in the first team at 18 yourself, right?
Well, 17. I was just 17 when I got in the team.
Just 17. There you go. Yamal had you beat by a year. There you go.
Yeah, by a year, yeah.
But this idea that, like, too much too soon, growing bodies, blah, blah, blah. Now, he's carried everything in stride.
Yeah.
But when I look at his groin issues, I look at the way this Ibayanos interview, and I'm wondering, should Barcelona be taking better care of him? Like, could they pay a hefty price for this?
They could do. I mean, young players have to be monitored. They have to be monitored physically, but also mentally. You know, one of the biggest issues about playing week in, week out at such a young age is the mental strain it takes on you. You know, you've got to prepare yourself every week or twice a week to play massive games. And now you're the star of the team, so everybody expects you to play well. When you don't play well, you're going to get criticism. They're going to come to you for the interviews. And that's where I think they should also be protecting him. You want him to be like Lionel Messi was at Barcelona, where he didn't really come out with too much in the press. He was just thought of as a great player. And
he's a mute Messi.
Yeah,
but
he
also didn't play anywhere near as much at the same age. Neither did Cristiano.
Yeah. So they've got to try and monitor what he says to the press. They've got to try and protect him. They know that people are now know they can get things out of him that can cause problems, and it'd be big news. So, I just think the club need to protect him both physically, but even more so mentally.
So on the mental side and his comments, here you have a young man who's a superstar for Spain as well.
Yeah.
You know, arguably Spain's most important player until Rodri returns, or certainly up there. Now you have a situation where he's come out publicly and he said, I'm assuming like 30, 35%, if not 40% of fans in Spain, fans of Spain are Real Madrid fans too.
Yeah.
So you're already setting yourself up. There's a World Cup coming in the summer, and you've just told 35 to 40% that their team that they support are cheaters. That's got to be a strain, and it's not purely Barcelona issue, right?
Again, you're under as a young player, probably could go on to become the world's greatest player. You're putting yourself under enough pressure, being in that position, that you've got to perform week in, week out for your club and for your Spain. Don't let yourself be put under even more pressure and under more scrutiny by saying the wrong things in the press. And that again comes down to the club. Just have someone with him to say, come on, let's just move away from this one, or we can offer another player to you this week. But he wants to get involved.
Well, this is the context, right? Ibayanos is a huge star in Spain. He's one of the biggest streamers in the world. I don't think he buys a bad guy. And journalistically, maybe that's a question that's worth asking. But you can't, if you're Barcelona, you can't let him go and answer it in the way he did. And even if you think it's true, right? If you think it's true, if you want to get into the Machiavellian world that we saw with Mourinho, Guardiola. I can live with that because your goal is to win the league. But this is not the messenger, right? You do it with a senior player. You do it in a certain way. You do it at a certain time. You don't go and troll the opposition just before Clasico in this way. You know, it's one thing when Mourinho says, before a big game, like, well, this referee doesn't like us. Let's hope he's fair. You're trying to get into his head, whatever. There's a strategy behind it, which you can agree with or disagree with. I mean, Real Madrid TV, they do the same thing, right? Week in, week out, right? But there's a plan there. This seemed totally unplanned. It seemed totally unnecessary. And I think the upshot is however strong mentally he is, and obviously mentally he's a beast, he's still 18 years old, and this is a completely unnecessary situation to be in. And he had his national team teammate, Danny Carvajal, going and giving it to him at the end.
So the thing,
not to mention Vini, but Vini is his own.
A little while ago, when he was playing away from home, Lamine Yamal, the crowd applauded him, stood up and applauded him because they were shocked by how good he was. If you keep saying things in the press, being derogatory about the opposition, you're not going to be applauded anymore. You're not going to be seen as this wonder kid. You're going to be seen as the enemy. And they're going to have more and more pressure on them. They're going to be more booing and whistling. The opposition will then start kicking more and all that sort of thing. Just stay away from it. Just show what a great player you are.
While we're on the issue of the enemy, let's go from one guy who could have won the Ballon d'Or last year to the person who thought he'd won the Ballon d'Or 2 years ago, Vinicius. Now, it's not so much that he says derogatory things, but obviously a lot of people take issue with the way he plays. And obviously he has also suffered. He gets singled out for racist abuse. And hasn't happened in public this year, but obviously it's happened in the past. He's obviously a guy who's a bundle of nerves. And he has, I don't want to say he has issues, but when I saw him get angry, and I thought he played really well.
He did play well, yeah.
And I think he has shown, and I'm hoping if I'm Vinicius, if I'm a Real Madrid fan, I'm going to look at this and say, you know what? You're responding very, very well to this situation on the pitch, in the sense that, let's face it, over the summer, issues with Mbappe, perception, but not just a perception, it's a reality that it's really difficult to carry Vini and Mbappe because you have two guys who don't work defensively, or that was what we said last season. Not as central to the project as he was, as they like to say. Maybe if Saudi comes along, we'd consider it. He's taken all this on board, and he has responded on the pitch. He's responded with some really big performances. And so I can understand when he came off and he reacts that way to being substituted. I can see where that comes from. We'd be talking about that if Real Madrid had dropped points, though.
Yeah. I've watched most of Real Madrid's games over the last 3 years. And if I was the opposition, I'd approach Vinny Jr. totally differently to how some of them do it. When does he play at his best? Vinny Jr. plays at his best when he's wound up, being abused, being kicked. That's when he has more effect on the game. It stirs him up. If I was playing against Vinny Jr.,
you just dial it down.
I'd say dial it right down. I'd almost say to the crowd, don't get onto his back. Ignore him. And if you found him, pick him up and I'm really sorry. A great bit of skill that was. I was beaten by a bit of skill, because he actually tones everything right down and doesn't play with anywhere near the same fire and ability than he does when he's angry. So sometimes being angry makes him play better.
Yeah, and I wonder if, he didn't feel a little bit slighted, because Real Madrid, this season it's been about Mbappe, it's been about the new signings, it's been about Arda Güler, and maybe this has helped motivate him. But I thought he deserves credit. I thought he made a huge contribution,
absolutely,
to this game. In Real Madrid, also, we got to move on to Bellingham and make a call here, because, as you know, I've been championing Bellingham in midfield for a long time. I think I have no issue whatsoever with Xabi Alonso kind of redrawing the team to accommodate Bellingham and, dropping Mastantuono for a more solid approach in this game. And I thought Bellingham responded really well and made the position known. But you feel Bellingham's still not fit?
No, he's not fit, not fully fit. When I saw him, I went to Dortmund 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, that was a different Bellingham. Oh, 2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago. I went to watch him play, and I hadn't seen him live very often. I've seen him on the TV, highlights obviously, and it was the perfect midfield performance. He was playing central midfield alongside Emre Can.
Right.
And he ran up and down. He got on the ball, picked passes out. He went past people. He scored a goal. I came away saying that is the all-round midfield performance. And that's what he was. When he was playing for England at the World Cup, he played in central midfield. And he was just one or two with another player alongside him. And that's what his job was. He's a midfield player. That's what he did at Birmingham. Because he played as the number 10 and almost sometimes a withdrawn centre-forward in his first season, scored all those goals for Real Madrid.
By necessity.
He suddenly says, well, that's what I am. Well, no, you're still a midfield player. You're a midfield player that's been forced into playing the attacking role. Really, you're a central midfield player. And when I see him play at the moment, that player I saw at Dortmund, that player I saw in the first season, he's got great energy, but he's also got a burst of pace. He's strong. I'm seeing him as a one-pace player at the moment. Yes, he did brilliantly for the goal. Yes, he scored a goal as well. But he looks as though everything's a struggle. He's chasing balls at half pace, and he just about gets there. Then it takes him an age to get back up. He doesn't always run back.
So you're saying it's a fitness issue? It's not.
I think
it's not a willingness issue.
No, I think it's a fitness issue.
Okay,
I'd love to know what the sports scientists are doing with him, and if they run tests on him and say, "This is where you were 2 years ago, or when you first came to the club. This is where you are now. We've got to get back to that fitness level there."
Well, if it's a fitness issue rather than a willingness issue, I think that's a huge step forward. That's a real breakthrough for Xabi Alonso. Because I'm not playing him in midfield. Because I think it's pretty obvious that in Carlo Ancelotti's last year, I think Bellingham was not looking forward to playing in midfield, did not want to play there. You had to kind of beg him to go and play. Oh, you go wide, show him tapes of Zidane, say, oh, look, this is what Zidane did off the ball, and then, and you could be like him. So if he's willing to embrace that role, then suddenly I think this Real Madrid midfield, you still might have a bit of a numbers issue in the sense that Tchouaméni has to be there or Camavinga. Valverde at some point is going to want to be back in midfield when the right backs are fit, if they're ever fit. And then obviously you've got Arda Güler. So maybe then you have to look at playing 4-4-2 or whatever. But, I mean, that is a huge plus if you get him fit.
What I'd like to know in this game, I'm obviously watching the game, and he starts out and I think, oh, Bellingham's playing on the right-hand side of a midfield four. Fairly narrow, but he's the furthest player on the right-hand side. He then creates the goal for Mbappe, and I'm looking at the game. Why is Mbappe now coming to the middle and Camavinga, a left-footed player, has gone to the right-hand side? Maybe it was to stop Balde getting forward, I don't know. But who made that decision? The coach? Or did Bellingham say, I'm not playing out there, and said to Camavinga, you get out there, I'm going to be more central? That would be the question I was...
You're being extremely naughty there, Robbo, alleging that Bellingham just decided...
I did. I said I would like to know who made the decision.
I am fairly confident that it's a call Xabi Alonso made. I am very confident in this. I'd be very surprised.
And the only reason I can think he did it was to have Camavinga, their most athletic player in midfield in terms of pace and energy, was to stop Balde getting forward down the left-hand side.
Stop Balde getting forward, and you've got him coming inside on his left foot. So I'm assuming it's...
Yes, I'm hoping that's the case.
We're going to talk about Barcelona's defense. We talked about the struggles. But I want to talk about the penalty first, because I don't understand how this is even a discussion about the handball. If you watch La Liga in the last 2 years, yes, it ricochets off the Real Madrid player. It makes no difference. His arm isn't where it needs to be. Had it ricocheted, had he gone in to slide it, had he gotten the ball and it had come off, had it ricocheted off his leg onto his arm, then you may have a case. But in this case, Eric Garcia, your arm's not supposed to be there. These penalties get called, and especially in Spain.
The trouble is, the more you talk about the laws of the game and interpreting the laws of the game, it becomes more and more what the referee thinks. Because we all look at penalties differently. We all look at handballs differently. Everybody, if you listen to a commentary, everybody will say different things. I look at it, could it be avoided? Has it stopped an advantage? It might have stopped an advantage. I could see both sides of the argument. So I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. But I can certainly see your argument. I can certainly see the ESPN commentators and what they were saying about it.
Yeah, I disagree with them. Because this is the way it's been officiated in Spain. Right? Yeah. What you want above all is consistency.
You'll never ever get consistency with the laws of English of football, because
you almost said English.
Of football, because there's certain foul. When I see they say, oh, there's a touch on him there, or that's the hand. It's up to you what you think, and there's too many laws that can be interpreted in totally different ways.
All right, so about the Barcelona defense. Actually, before we do the going back to the discipline thing, let's remind everybody: Flick wasn't there; he was up in the stands. Yep. I think it's harder to lay down the law with discipline when you yourself are picking up second yellows for no apparent reason. So that's just something That's on Flick. When it comes to defense, when Barcelona drop points like clockwork, oh, it's a high line. Oh, stupid high line. I'm sick of this. He plays this way. He's won a treble playing this way. They've had a lot of success. He doesn't do it because he wants to lose or make things difficult for the opposition. He does it because it's his credo, and it's brought him a ton of success. And as long as the front men are putting pressure on the ball, then the high line gives you results. However, there's going to be times when the front men aren't putting pressure on the ball, possibly because one of them is Marcus Rashford and another one, Lamine Yamal, is half fit or whatever. And then at some point, because the other element, if you play the high line, is how you execute. And I think there's a quality issue there. If I have outstanding center backs who are freak athletes and read the game perfectly well, then I can get away with not executing it perfectly, right?
Yep.
Eric Garcia is not that.
Certainly not.
Pau Cubarsí, maybe he can become one of the great Barcelona defenders. He certainly was outstanding when he was very young. I don't think he's having the best of seasons.
No.
And I think it's a ton of pressure piled on him. Losing Inigo Martinez and not replacing him and devoting those resources to Marcus Rashford was just an absolutely demented decision by the club. And if I were Hansi Flick, I would go and knock heads about this. There's no way out. And what happens when one of these guys gets hurt? How do you solve this?
Well, Hansi Flick, I was in Germany last week, and we were talking about Hansi Flick to some of the German people, the people that played under him, and they said the one problem he's got is that he's stubborn. He wants to play this way, and it's got to be that way or no way at all. Now, if you play a high line, there's still times when you have to read the danger and think, I can't play the high line now, I've got to drop off. And that's where the players are making mistakes. And that's where Hansi Flick's making. And I'll give you an example, the goal. You talk about pressure on the ball. Bellingham was going back towards his own goal or going towards the touchline. The player tries to close him down, and Bellingham produces a good turn and now buys himself space. Now, as soon as he buys himself space, Cubarsí should be thinking, I can't squeeze up now because he's got time on the ball. And Mbappe is a couple of yards short of me, and he's going to run in behind, and there's space in there. I've got to back off and say, you can't play that ball. But it seems to me as though even when it's obvious they have to drop off, they still try and squeeze.
Yeah, but I'm sure Hansi Flick doesn't say, hey, guys.
I think he does. That's what the people, they say he's stubborn. He'll say, do it more and more.
All right, then if you want to do that, I go back to what I said. You can do it if you have monster center backs who, despite this, are so fast that they're going to recover, or they'll make decisions independently, or they're going to angle the runs. In other words, that are better than these two guys. I mean, I'm sorry, with all the love in the world for Eric Garcia, he's a good professional, whatever.
He's not good enough.
He's not
I've
good
always
enough.
said he's not good enough.
The other guy's 18 years old. And look who's on the bench. Christensen, who's always injured, always got issues and nothing to write home about. Araujo, who's they've been trying to ditch for the last 18 months, and now is their backup emergency center forward. How do you go into a season like this? I just don't understand this.
The problem is, Gab, and Hansi Flick has had this issue, he had it with the German team as well. For the first year, and when he was at Bayern Munich, he won the treble. The first year, other teams are surprised by it, and they don't know quite how to cope with it, and they keep running offside. Right. Now, in the second year, as it was with the German national team, say, I tell you what, they're going to squeeze up. And it's so easy to play against them, to get balls in behind and to make runs. So teams, I think you heard it in the commentary, whoever was talking obviously knew Xavi Alonso. All week, they've been working at ways of breaking down the offside line. So teams are working it. Even the worst teams in La Liga are in 1v1s against the goalkeeper. That cannot be the case if you're a top team.
So do you ditch your high line, or do you
you
spend some money on defenders in January?
And you work harder at the right time. It's flawed. The system is flawed because they're coming up at the wrong times now. They've got to make sure that they work hard. When nobody's in contact with the ball, you can still be coming up. So if the ball's played from there to there,
of course,
while that ball's travelling, you can come up. As soon as that bloke is about to get on the ball, because he might play that ball first time in behind you, you drop. Only has to be 2 yards. You're ready for the ball played over the top. The forwards are coming back to get onside as you're go up, and now it looks easy. They're getting the timing completely wrong, and that's because they obviously aren't working hard enough at it in the training sessions.
And of course, it's hard to work on anything on training sessions during the season because you've got 2 games a week or 3 games a week, and you maybe have 1 or 2 full training sessions during the week. There you go. So, yeah, plenty for Flick to think about.
Oh dear, yeah.
All right, enough Clasico. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go.
Liverpool fall away to Brentford 3-2. Robbo 4 defeats on the bounce in the Premier League, 5 in the last 6. The only win was against Eintracht Frankfurt, who had conceded, after that game, I think 23 goals conceded in 6 games. Not good. Slot says there are many things wrong. What say you?
Absolutely, there's lots of things wrong. Defensively, they're not anywhere near as, what's the right word, committed to go and close the ball down as they were. Defenders are making poorer decisions. They're not defending set plays particularly well. In attack, there's no cohesion. Their key players aren't playing particularly well. There's lots of things that Slot's got to sort out. And you can tell by the changes he's making and the sort of changes sometimes with the formation, the changes of the personnel. If you keep doing that, you're never going to get that consistency. He's got to stick with something and say, right, okay, this is the way I'm going to go, and try and stick with it.
I disagree. Sorry. I think I would take that to point. So center backs, you got to stick with them.
Yeah.
Because you have no other center backs.
Yeah.
And you know that these guys are good. It's just they've been playing horrendously, right? Where I would push back a little bit is you already made a big change when you go to 4-2-3-1 with Wirtz in the hole. You saw, I think you have to explore the 4-4-2. More. Not based on the Frankfurt game, because Frankfurt are horrendous, and some of the goals they scored were set pieces anyway. But a scenario with Wirtz, and Jules disagrees with me strongly on this, Wirtz wide and then coming inside on possession to create is a much better option than Wirtz in the middle and getting overrun in midfield. And the other advantage of 4-4-2 is Salah, who defensively doesn't do the work that he used to do, play him in the front too. He's done it before. Play him in the front too. You can choose Isak, Ekitike, whoever you want alongside him. Try that. Yeah. See if you get mileage there.
Yeah, because although Wirtz probably would say, I don't really fancy playing out wide, as you said, in possession, he wouldn't actually go out wide. He'd make that run slightly in field. And
if it worked for Zinedine Zidane, it can work for you.
And if the right back was Frimpong, if it's not going to be at the moment because he's injured, you can get Frimpong down or Conor Bradley going down the outside of him. It works because most teams change their formation from defensive to attacking situations.
And less pressure for Salah as well.
Now, Coyote. Sorry. I mean, was named man of the match, Gab. And, yes, he's nowhere near the Italian team. What's going to go on?
So, I got a text from Mark Ogden saying, why isn't he in the Italy side, right? And
is that how Mark Ogden speaks?
Yeah. He does it in a much grimmer tone.
Northern accent.
So, all right, Coyote's only 21 years old. In Italy, we think that, you're a child until you're in your mid-20s. He had a bad season last year. A bad season at club level, a bad season after moving to Brentford. He wasn't playing. This season, he's playing a lot. I think he's going to be in contention. Now, on the right, Italy, we've got Di Lorenzo, we've got Cambiaso. We have other options.
Yeah.
And we haven't yet discovered the power of the throw-in. But guess what? He was man of the match in this game, not just because he can throw the ball really long.
Yeah.
Arsenal extend their lead at the top of the table as Eberechi Eze scores against his old club. Robbo, stout defending and set pieces. This is the way forward.
And some good attacking play as well. You got to be an all-round.
We didn't see it in this game.
Not particularly. No, Arsenal didn't play at their very best. But if you want to win lots of things, you have to have a bit of everything. You can't just be one-dimensional.
No, but they have a lot of very good defending. They've conceded 3 goals this season. They have a lot of set pieces.
Not just their defense.
They've scored 5 goals from open play in the league all season. That's not a lot.
So set plays have been a big part of their armoury. Defending, not just the back four, but all around the pitch, they're quite good at doing that. Declan Rice, I think, is absolutely superb in midfield for them at the defensive side of the game. And they've got strong, quick back players. I mean, Timber has been excellent for a couple of years now. So those things are right. But I also think they, on their day, with Saka and maybe the centre forward, they've got players that can go past.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. But I think right now they don't have Saka at his best, and they don't have Odegaard at all. I think they'll go up a notch if the Windows guys come back.
They'll still have enough to win most games at the moment, as they showed against Atletico Madrid and they showed against Crystal Palace this week, in 1 week.
The little gooter comes out again.
Hakimi and PSG beat up Brest 3-0 Gab, pretty straightforward, wasn't it?
Extremely straightforward. He mixed it up. He left a bunch of guys on the bench. Nuno Mendes, Dembele, Desiree Doué. It helps. You can bring on the Ballon d'Or. Desiree Doué come on to score in garbage time. He's really biding his time. And Achraf Hakimi, Joel says he'd give him the African Ballon d'Or. I would give it to him because Osimhen is African, but he's right up there. Robert, we're not done because we have more quick hits.
Absolutely.
Don't look now, but Manchester United have won 3 league games in a row as they beat Brighton 4-2. Are they turning a corner? Legions of Manchester United fans, including our stand-in producer today, Mark, who is Irish and therefore a United fan, they all want to know.
I think they are turning the corner slightly.
Ruben Amorim proven right.
Well, I'm not saying he's proven right.
He didn't listen to the haters.
No. But what he's done, or what the club have done, they've got 2 players in there that are now having an effect on their attacking quality. And Burmo looks to be a really good player at the moment. We saw it at Brentford, but now he's playing in that slightly sort of inside right position. He's getting himself turned. He's showing pace with his runs. He's scoring goals. And Cunha, I know he can be a bit temperamental, but he's now beginning to open up defences. He's scoring good goals. He's seeing a pass. So if you've got attacking qualities and you look as though you're going to score goals, that makes everybody else more confident defensively. So,
they have a better they have a better goalkeeper now as well.
Maybe have a better goalkeeper.
We even had a Sesko sighting on the third goal. That was a nice little turn.
And he's got a more settled back three. I know Maguire didn't play at the weekend, but De Ligt, we're now seeing the De Ligt that we thought we might see several years ago.
What I think is encouraging at 3-0, when Brighton get it back to 3-2, you're thinking to yourself, squeaky bum time, as Sir Alex might say. Are they going to implode? No. Mentally, they're still there. And I think that you have to give credit to Amorim for that. Yeah. I still don't like Bruno Fernandes in front of in
Casemiro, 2 central midfield players who can't run. But there we go. Now, Napoli bounced back from a humiliation against PSV and beat Inter 3-1. Gab, what about that?
There's a lot of controversy around this game.
I'm sure there was.
Especially the penalty 30 minutes in. I'm just going to deal with that first because this was a bizarro situation.
Do I need to remind the listeners that you are an Inter fan?
Mkhitaryan on Di Lorenzo. Di Lorenzo extends his leg across. Mkhitaryan goes into the back of the leg. Referee sees it correctly. Waves play on. 8 seconds pass. The ball is at the other end of the pitch. All of a sudden, the referee turns and signals for the penalty. Now, it's emerged since then that most likely it was the assistant referee who tells the match official, hey, you got this wrong. It should have been a penalty. VAR does not intervene because VAR has been given instructions in Italy, high bar, blah, 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 not too many ticky-tacky penalties. All right, this is all wrong. It's completely wrong. You, referee, you're better placed than your assistant. You give it. If you're not sure, ask VAR to let you see it again. And if they had, they wouldn't give it. Now, that said, Pepe Marotta, the Inter chief executive, coming out, is like, we were playing so well, and they were playing well before the penalty. That penalty completely derailed us, blah, 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 attacking the referees. This is lame excuse-making here, Pepe. So much respect for what you're doing for the club. But here, you're wrong. Listen to your coach, Christian Kivu, who says, the refereeing decision cannot be an alibi, nor should it be. I should also point out, Napoli, again, really impressive how they came back. David Neres as the emergency center forward. Anything not to play Luca. Conte, of course, wound up tighter than a drum, getting into it with Lautaro Martinez, his former player, at the end. But big win for Napoli. And top of the table. Inter can do better.
Yes.
And need to do better. Newly promoted Sunderland are up to third in the table as Shamseen Talbi bags an injury time winner away to Chelsea, and they win 2-1. Robbo, turns out Mark Yu isn't the answer up front, but is it still the usual Palmer dependency that's hurting my boy Enzo Maresca?
A little bit, because they had a lot of possession and they just needed a bit more creativity around the box. When you look at the stats, they dominated the ball. They dominated territory, but they didn't quite have enough guile and creativity in the top.
João Pedro had a bad game. Yeah. Estevao needs to start, otherwise...
He only came on as a sub. Garnacho, I don't think he's hit and miss out on the left-hand side.
Garnacho scores a goal and then kind of stops playing.
Yeah, and he's taken off. He's the first player they take off. So, yes, there's certain things that were wrong with Chelsea, but Palmer at his best, he picks those passes, he scores goals. They're a different
He
team.
papers over cracks.
He certainly does. Now, Bayern make it 13 wins in a row to start the season as they crush Borussia Mönchengladbach 3-0. Gab, they're in the history books.
They are the only other team in a European Big Five league to win their first 13 games in all competitions were Fabio Capello's Milan back in 1992-93. That is setting the bar
And they were
pretty
a good team,
high.
weren't they? They were a good team.
They were, I think you could say that. It took them a while to score. Joshua Kimmich only coming up in the second half, but that's because Gladbach parked the bus. And, when you've got a lot of bodies there, it's hard to get through. But still, comprehensive victory. Great goal from this exciting youngster, Leonard Carl, towards the end. Roll on 14. Erling Haaland does not score for the first time in 13 games for club and country, and Manchester City fall away to Aston Villa 1-0. Robbo, some love for Unai Emery here, or are you going to blame Pep?
No, a bit of love for Unai Emery. Remember, he was getting stick at the start of the season. They couldn't score goals. They didn't look threatening enough. Their passing was too slow. I only watched the highlights, but extended highlights, and they created more of the opportunities. They were good on the counter-attack. There was a lot of movement. They played at a good pace. Luka Digne down the left-hand side was getting forward, getting crosses into the box. Watkins was playing much better and linking up the play. So, yes, I give a lot of credit to Unai Emery, who was under a lot of stick earlier on in the season. He's turned him around.
In the end, his tremendous goal from Matty Cash.
Unlikely
goal, I think, from Matty Cash. I think Pep is seeing that they're one-dimensional with Erling Haaland because he's the only one scoring.
Yeah.
And he tried to address it. Obviously there's no Rodri. Could have played Nico Gonzalez. Could have played. Could have dusted off.
Reinders played as the whole midfield.
He played Reinders, not his position, but I can see what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's trying to put more creative people on there so that they can find different ways of scoring. But it's not working yet.
No. Juventus lose away to an injury-riddled Lazio. Igor Tudor under a bit of stick.
Under a lot of stick. And guess what? I'm not piling on. No. I'm not piling on. Igor Tudor is part of the problem, right? But he is changing things up. He's done it. He wanted him to play a front two. You said he played Jonathan David, who was terrible. Again, had a really bad game with Dusan Vlahovic up front. And now it shouldn't come at the expense of Kenan Yildiz. I'd like to see more bravery. They took on Lazio the way they took on Real Madrid almost, except for the two strikers in midweek, which was sort of defending, counter. All that said, they created more chances. They created better chances than Lazio. Lazio scored early and could kind of manage it. And they should have had a penalty because of the Gila on Chico Conceição. He steps on his foot. That's a foul, right? I mean, step on foot. We're used to this now, right? So I don't know. I mean, Tudor isn't doing what he's part of the problem. But you're not going to solve it by sending him away. And also, you can't have this crazy knee-jerk reaction to results all the time. You have to look at performances because, now it sucks. Now it's 3 defeats in a row, no wins in 8. Earlier in the season, he was getting results like, oh, look, Tudor sorted them out. You have to figure this out. Tottenham are Road Warriors beating Everton away 3-0 as Mickey van de Ven bags another 2 goals. But, Robbo, I personally think Thomas Frank should again thank Lanky St. Vic because this was closer than the score.
Yeah, again, saw the highlights, and Everton had quite a few chances. I mean, early on in the game.
We can call them big saves from my man Vicario.
Yeah, they had big chances, and he made big saves. There's a couple of exceptional saves. One that he almost clawed back from.
Some people, like Don Hutchinson, still don't like him.
Because he doesn't win every ball that comes in from a corner. He flaps at 1 or 2, but he's a good goalkeeper. There's no question about it. He's a good goalkeeper. He makes good saves, and at the moment, he's one of Tottenham's best players. And they relied on a couple of set plays. They scored a decent third. But overall, as you said, the game was much closer than the 3-0 scoreline would suggest.
There's an issue with the front guys. Mohamed Kudus, Randall Colomwani, and Xavi Simons. 0 goals, 1 shot, and 3 touches in the opposition box combined.
Yeah,
and
now they're also talking about getting rid of Solanke as well. They might get him up for sale. So it's not a forward line.
Poor man's injured.
Well.
Leave him alone.
Yes. Maxi Bayer gets the injury time 3-pointer for Borussia Dortmund, who win at home against Köln. Gab, finally some consistency in Kovac's team?
Köln. I like the way you said that. Channeling your inner Derek Ray.
Absolutely.
I might have said Cologne since we're speaking English, but no, I guess FC Köln.
Yes.
Yes. I've been saying this for a while, and I hesitate to say it because it's Dortmund and Dortmund going to Dortmund, and few clubs have shown more capacity for self-harm than Dortmund. But the reality is, Kovac, again, not my favorite guy in the world, but he's made them solid.
Yeah.
He's built up their confidence. It's a back three. It's fullbacks who or wing backs who play like wing backs. Felix Nemecha, another one, a guy I didn't really like. I think he's been tremendous. He's had the courage to drop the so-called skill players, whether it's Julian Brandt or whatever, to go more solid with Adeyemi and Guirassy up front. This is impressive. And you can look at this and say, oh, but they only scored late against FC. Sure. But the other team parked the bus. They still dominated them. And they got their just dessert. So in terms of performance, we were there. So they were impressive in midweek as well.
He had a bit of a rude awakening against Bayern because he went to Bayern and he said to Derek Ray before the game in an interview, he said, I'm not going to park the bus. We're going to play Bayern at their own game.
Yeah, and his nose got longer when he said that.
So
Zero shots on goal in the first half.
They ended up with 5 at the back rather than 3 at the back. And in the second half, he said, okay, we've got to change the system. We're going to play 3 at the back, but the 2 wide centre-halves are going to go and mark Bayern's wingers. We're going to be more open, and we're going to be more attacking. We're going to play on the front foot more. And the game completely changed. So that would have just confused his mind slightly. That when we were solid, we didn't play particularly well. When we were more open and we were more cavalier, we looked a good team against Bayern. So he's got his work cut out.
But he can play different ways. Yeah. I guess look, he's impressing me this season. I'm in this charge because people who I'm not huge fans on, like Kovac, like Peter Bosch.
Yeah, but who
are doing well?
What about his brother? Credit for his brother as well. I mean, the lookalikes on the bench, Kovac and his brother.
Clever.
Yeah.
Now they're second in the table, and we haven't spoken about them yet, Robbo, which I think is unfair.
Yes,
and we should lodge a complaint. Bournemouth ruined Sean Dyche's debut on the Nottingham Forest bench and win 2-0. Got to ask, are they for real?
Yes, they've got, as you keep telling me, a very good coach who plays some wonderful football. They've got some good individual players. Against Nottingham Forest for a good 70 minutes. They were outstanding. They created lots of opportunities. They played at pace. They were creative.
Olympic goal from Tavernier. How about that? Even though the ball did go out of play, but
when
whatever.
Past people with the ball in individual situations, they passed it well. They look a very good team at the moment, and they're going to be a tough side to play against, particularly at home at Bournemouth.
Robbo, compared to last season, Heisen gone, Zabarny gone.
Yep. Kirkic gone.
Kirkic gone. The other guy, I don't even think is a real right back. And he rebuilds the back four just like that. You coached. Is this a big deal, or is it like, no, it's not a big deal?
You can certainly coach a new back four, but it usually takes a little bit of time for them to get understanding and get a gel. But they've done it in the first 8-9 games. So
how hard is that to do that?
It's very hard, but he must have worked during the pre-season. He must have worked throughout the opening weeks of the season, because that doesn't happen by luck. You have to work at a defensive structure, and they look very, very good defensively.
I'm fairly confident saying Andoni Iraola was working during preseason rather than watching Ibayanos' live stream.
Yes. So Roma are top of the table, Gab. Paulo Dybala scores the only goal, and they win away to Sassuolo. Gasperini is getting it done, isn't he?
Yeah, Dybala's first goal since February, apparently, and they're paying him enormous amounts of money. Like, whatever. No questioning his quality, but he inherited Dybala anyway. They're not necessarily playing like a Gasperini team, and he surprises you. He pulls things out of the hand, maybe because they have a game in midweek. He decided, he likes that front three. Matthias Sule has been outstanding for them this season. Nope, starts him on the bench. Dovbyk also on the bench. Pellegrini also on the bench. He played Leon Bailey with Dybala, and sort of Brian Cristante at times was like the very false center forward. But guess what? He gets it done. And in the second half, they really take the game to them. They create chances. Not a Gasperini guy, but I have to respect his achievements again.
Because you've never been a Gasperini fan particularly, have
no, you? I'm a fan of his work as a coach. I'm not a fan of him as a person from what I've seen. I just don't like the way he behaves. But this is really impressive. And I'll tell you what, if you look at their metrics, they're underperforming expected goals quite a bit. So presumably, if you believe in regression to the mean,
they should get more
they'll
goals,
be looking pretty good later. So don't count Roma out.
No.
Newcastle make it 4 wins in 5 as Bruno Guimaraes bags the late winner against Fulham, and they win 2-1. Now, between the Isak saga, or Isak saga even, and having to play in Europe, I thought they'd struggle, Robbo, but Eddie Howe has navigated around their rough start.
Yeah, I saw them in
they're
midweek.
12th in the table.
Yeah,
overly excited.
It's a good win against Fulham after their midweek game against Benfica, because they had to put a lot of effort against Benfica. They played at high intensity. They made 1 or 2 changes to the team. Tonali didn't play against Benfica, and that was a bit of a shock. But overall, I think they look quite a good side. Gordon's doing really well down the left-hand side. The centre forward, Voldemort. I saw him a lot in the under-21s for Germany. He's good with his back to goal. He links up the play. He's good in the air, as you would need to be if you're 6'7" or whatever.
You say that, but apparently he had only scored one headed goal before this season. And you know what? It's not that many more, because it seems like a lot of his headed goals actually come off his shoulder. But yes,
but he's been heading them down to other people and all sorts of things. So he's making things happen. So I think Eddie Howe needs to have a little bit of credit for what he's achieved so far at Newcastle this season, and hopefully they do well in Europe. This was way back on Friday, but Milan needed a last-ditch goal to avoid defeat at home to Pisa. Gab, it cost them top spot in the league.
Yeah, and I noticed you don't mention the goal scorer.
Well,
you don't want to put some respect on Zachary Atacama's name. Yeah, look, they have a lot of guys out, so presumably it's an excuse, I guess. There's no Rabiot, no Pulisic, no Purvis' stupid Ann on the left. You have Salamakers having to play as a second striker, but guys, it's Pisa at home. I think you expect them to do better. Schemper, who had made a lot of good saves in the Pisa goal, I think he was responsible for the Atacama strike at the end, the way it wiggles in at the post. Some horrendous defending on Nzola's goal to make it 2-1 and put Pisa up. I don't think Milan should be gutting out victories. You have all week to work. I know this is kind of like Allegri's football, but you have all week to work on this. You're well rested. You should be going and at home against a newly promoted side, and you should be dominating, even with your second string, because those are better players.
So I'll just remind the listeners that you are an Inter supporter.
Stop it. Sticking with Milan, there were protests from their ultras against the proposed game in Perth against Como in February. They prepared banners. As you know, they have to get banners approved going into the stadium. Banners apparently, reportedly, not approved, so they just displayed them outside the stadium instead. Now, look, everybody and their mother has weighed in on this. We saw what happened with the Liga game, where ultimately they pulled the plug. There was a player protest about it, too. And I should also make it clear that before this game in Perth can go ahead, they still need to get approval from the Asian Football Confederation, from Football Australia, and FIFA could also change their minds over this, although we don't expect that they will because they're subject of a lawsuit. But how do you feel philosophically about
Gab?
League
You're now talking to somebody that thinks that all kickoffs should be at 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon.
Right.
So you're talking to somebody very old-fashioned when it comes to.
Probably not a fan of Wimbledon moving to Milton Keynes.
No, all those sort of things. I like a bit of tradition. I can see it going. I was upset that the game in Miami was cancelled because I was due to go out there and commentate on it. So that was a bit disappointing. That was a pre-Christmas.
But that's a selfish, personal thing.
I don't think it's the right thing to do. I just don't. I think that it upsets the fans who have been going for many years to their team to watch them play, and then suddenly they're taking one of their games over to another country. And I do understand when people say it can impact on the credibility of the league when somebody's playing a home game somewhere else.
Well, in Barcelona's case, definitely. This is not so much because...
much, but if you start doing those things, eventually that's going to happen. So I'm against it, and hopefully I think it doesn't go ahead.
I don't even think it makes that much sense from a business perspective, to be honest.
In Australia, a country that doesn't play that much football?
Yeah. In Milan's defense, they can say, well, we have a problem here. We don't have a choice because... we lose our stadium. Unlike Villarreal, we lose our stadium because of the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. We can't just reverse the fixture because we share a stadium with Inter. We can't really go play somewhere else in Italy without taking it abroad because we have 60. We draw 70,000 a game. There's no other stadium in Italy that can accommodate us. Or rather, the only other stadiums that could accommodate us or come close to it are Rome, but they have 2 teams, so we can't play there either. Or Naples, but that's not really fair. Right? I might as well go abroad then. But the thing is, you don't need to go to the other ends of the earth. Jules made the point, very logical. You're not playing European football this year, Milan. And guess what? Neither are Como.
Play midweek.
Find a midweek and play it then.
Now, Leipzig are second in the Bundesliga after their 6-0 win at Augsburg. Gab, their rebuild seems to be going okay, doesn't it?
Yeah, amazing when you have more money than almost anybody else and you spend it and you get results. And last season was just a horrendous aberration. They blew up this team. The SOS.
Yeah.
Lois Apenda, gone. Benjamin Sesko, gone. Xavi Simons, gone. Lucharel Gertruida, gone. So they're pushing Yusuf Poulsen even.
They did.
That's a bit of a heartbreaker, right?
I mean, yeah.
Gone.
He must have made more substitute appearances than anybody else, didn't he?
I know. He's at Hamburg now. So yeah, they need to get the results. I don't think the identity is necessarily still there. They still have some disciplinary issues. They did make an emotional decision bringing back Timo Werner, who, by the way, is not related to Olive Werner, guys. They just have the same last name. Weirdly, I don't think they like each other very much, but they're up there. I think given that they don't play in Europe, given that they do have some very good players, Antonio Nusa is a driving force. They got this new Brazilian center forward. Baumgartner is still there.
Baumgartner, yeah.
5 goals already this season. I think they could be the biggest challengers to Bayern this season.
More than Dortmund.
Possibly more than Dortmund.
You said earlier on they were consistent, and now you were happy with
They're
Kovac.
consistent, but Dortmund have Champions League football too. I mean, let's not underestimate, especially for a big side, not playing European football in the league is a massive advantage. So roll on Leipzig. I mean, I want to see them well because I don't, because I hate everything they stand for. But it is going better. It couldn't go any worse than last season anyway. The playoffs are underway in Major League Soccer, and Lionel Messi is picking up where he left things off in the regular season. Robbo, I assume you agree with giving him a 3-year contract extension?
With him, probably yes. Most 38-year-olds, I would say absolutely not. You'd go by year, but even if he's not the same player in 3 years' time, which it's impossible to be the same player in 3 years' time, the amount of money and adulation it brings to the club and all the other money that they bring in from him, I suppose I can see why they.
It's not just the adulation. They beat Nashville 3-1. He scores 2 goals. One of them a diving header.
You said
how many diving headers did you score?
Lots. You said about a 3-year contract. Would I be in agreement with a 3-year contract?
Yeah,
and I said most players. No, he's not going to be the same player in 3 years' time. But there we
go.
Goal
a game at 38.
Now we go to the other end of the spectrum. Sheffield Wednesday have gone into administration, and their fans are happy about it, Gab. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm going into administration, of course, means that you're going to be deducted 12 points for those who are not accountants. Essentially, it means...
Relegated.
Well, the 12 points, probably. I don't follow whatever league they're in, so I wouldn't know. Thank you.
The championship.
But what administration means is essentially your club is insolvent, and so the court appoints an administrator to come in to try to pay off whatever debts they can pay off. And
that's usually very minimal.
Which is usually very minimal. And they take over the club, and they're going to look for a new owner. Now, the reason the fans are celebrating is it means that Deshaun Chansiri, the previous owner, who they absolutely loathed, is gone.
And did they boycott 1 or 2 of the games? They
boycotted games and stuff. So now what's going to happen is the administrators are urging them, like, guys, we need to get cash in to keep the club ticking over and probably prepare for next season if they get relegated as they expect. So they're buying things in the club shop. They got to bounce.
Turn up in their thousands, unfortunately, for a 2-0 defeat by Oxford.
Yeah, okay, but he's gone. What I don't understand about this guy Chansiri, and I had some of the same questions, and I hope it's not the same answer as Mr. Lee Young-hong when he was in Milan. Bro, you're not putting any more money into the club. You lost money in the club. You have offers. Why not sell and get whatever you can out of it? Because there were people who were willing to buy, not just John Texter and this other nonsense. Not that he cares.
So what do you suggest is happening there, Gab?
It seems very, very unusual. I will not suggest anything more because I am...
I saw on Friday they were taking his name is written in the chairs on the opposite side of the stand,
and they're removing
they're removing the white chairs to get the name gone.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One day I want to own a stadium and I'm going to write my name in big letters.
Marcotti or Gabriella?
Just Gab.
Just Gab. Okay.
Gab. This brings us to an end.
Yes.
But Robbo, thank you for joining us.
It's been an absolute pleasure as always, Gab.
Jules is still out in partying it up in Spain. He will be on Thursday. So Don Hutchinson, aka Future Jules, Hutch, will be joining me. Until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.